Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Vicsport AGM and Member Forum. We're going to start with the Member Forum, and I have the wonderful Kyle Vander-Kuyp here to chat to us today. And we're going to use this time, before we get into the AGM proper, to launch our Reconciliation Action Plan as well, which Kyle has helped us with along the way. When we get to the end of the Member Forum, I will introduce you to our Chair, Ron Gorsey, and Ron will take us through the AGM as well as myself and other board members. But thank you for joining us and welcome. Can I start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we're all meeting and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. As I said, we're going to have a chat with Kyle Vander-Kuyp today, and Kyle's going to talk to us initially about his time as an athlete liaison manager at the Tokyo Games. Obviously, this being an Olympic year, and we've just had exciting times watching all our athletes in Tokyo. And then we're going to chat about the Vicsport Reconciliation Action Plan, our RAP, and take you through that process and talk to Kyle about his work in that and other RAPs and the meaning of that for him. But it's great to, it's like Kyle and I being at the track, chatting over a couple of hurdles. We've known each other for just a couple of years, Kyle.
Yeah, we have.
This is my favourite photo that I'm putting up of Kyle. There's awesome photos of Kyle everywhere, but for those of you that haven't met Kyle, Kyle is Australia's greatest ever 110-metre hurdler, probably greatest ever hurdler in lots of ways. Role model Indigenous athlete. I had the great pleasure of working with Kyle, kind of helping his coach along the way, Roy Boyd, the great Roy Boyd, who's just recently retired, and I've taken over his hurdling group, which is what I do in my spare time. Kyle will talk a little bit about, when we talk to the RAP, about his tribe, Wurundjeri and Yurin. You'll be able to pronounce those better than me, Kyle, and we'll talk about that a bit more as we go along.
Yep.
Kyle still holds the Australian record for the 110 hurdles. An absolute lightning 13.29, which when you understand hurdling and the 110 metres and the fact that the hurdles are 3'6", it is absolutely phenomenal to get over them in that time. And if you get a chance to look at the Athletics Australia website, in Kyle's bio, there's actually the footage of him setting that time in Sweden in 1995, which kind of feels like about 2 minutes ago, Kyle, but it's not.
It does, yeah.
And
about
Kyle,
30 kilos games, ago.
Yeah, don't talk about that, Kyle. We're not going to compare our extra tyre bits today. But
no.
in that final, you came 5th in the world, which is an absolutely stunning performance and an amazing achievement. And probably the most amazing achievement, I think, domestically, is your 12 wins in nationals for hurdles between 1992 and 2006, which kind of plays into your status as an athlete, but also your longevity as an athlete. You really understood how to keep yourself in the game. And you've worked with athletes along the way, but a really exciting culmination of your athletic career was this year when you got a chance to be an athlete liaison manager at Tokyo. How did you get the gig? What's involved with getting that gig? And tell us a bit about what's involved in getting it, and then what do you do when you're an athlete liaison manager at the Olympics? And while Kyle's talking, we're going to scroll through some of the photos that Kyle took in Tokyo, so that you can add some context to that. But Kyle, how'd you get the gig? Who rang you up and said, Kyle, you're it?
Yeah, well, you get emails from the Australian Olympic Committee every now and then, and a lot of them, present opportunities, and there's lots of, professional development opportunities. But yeah, one email that came through was a Olympian services role to volunteer for Tokyo. So that email would have come through in 2019, and I jumped at the chance, responded. Daniel Kowalski heads up Olympian services at the AOC, so friendly face, someone that I knew, and I put my application in, and got the interview. So I had to sit for an interview, got sort of questioned by a few staff, and they sort of run me through probably my values and what I might bring to the team. What would I do if I was in the role over there? So I think a mixture of the personality that I am and the skill set, but I think, someone who's probably very humble about what I did in sport, but also just very passionate still. So I think it's been good to have a good time away from the sport. It's 21 years since Sydney Olympics, and 2006 was my last Commonwealth, my last team on the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne. So I felt like the time was right. I felt like the hunger's there still. And so when I got appointed, I had to sit out the whole 12 months, as everyone did, to wait for this COVID period. So, and then something that also came up along the way after that appointment was they created an Indigenous advisory committee. So I jumped on the chance to be on that advisory committee. So they both sort of happened around the same time, but I'd been appointed, and when I had our first meeting, they didn't sort of bring it up in the meeting. They kept it pretty quiet because the whole team hadn't been announced and the COVID. So I sat for 12 months on this advisory committee, and then to walk into Tokyo, and you can see some of the artwork there. When I walked into Tokyo, it blew my mind because the conversations that we had at the board table and with the Indigenous advisory group, and the Nova Peris, Patrick Johnson, Brad Hoare, Paul Fleming, I'm going to miss names, Becky Smith. There was a great group of Indigenous Olympians that sat on the table, and to the AOC's credit, they really listened to what we were saying. They took our words on, they took our advice on. So when I walked into Tokyo, I knew that I was appointed as Olympian Services, and I was joining Sean Rowe, David Guest, Catherine Oyeniki, who comes from Davis Cup background and manages Leighton Hewitt and a lot of other tennis players. So they became my team members, and Meg Sissian from AOC was our manager there. But to walk into the village, I was blown away because I seen the artwork that we talked about, and it wasn't just put up in a small way. They had it decals on big glass windows. They had and they said to me, Kyle, what would be a nice way to introduce some cultural learning, some cultural awareness? I said, maybe the IATSIS map with all the language groups, that might be nice on the wall. And then when I walked in, there was this huge 3 metre by 2 metre mounted map with the ability to put a pin in. And so that became the cultural hub. So athletes, and that sat outside our office, so athletes would walk by, and I thought, I don't know if anyone will be interested in it, but maybe some people might stop. But there wasn't a day that went by in the village that they were like, hey, Kyle, someone's out by the map. You need to get out there. They want to have a chat. And I had chats with athletes. I had chats with managers, coaches. Lots of people stopped and had chats. And even, Patty Mills stopped by. Ash Barty stopped by, and she put a pin on her clan tribe group. And it was right next to my grandmother's country, Warramai and Ewan down in South Coast. So, just to have that chat with Ash, like, hey, I didn't know you were down that way. And she said, oh, well, I grew up in Queensland, but this is my grandmother's country, and I'm still discovering, more about it. So, it became a real conversation piece, the map, and then I met the 16 Indigenous Olympians throughout the village. And then the liaison role, I didn't know how that would fit in, but when the chef de mission engaged me, Ian Chesterman, he said, Kyle, I need your advice. We've got some issues around the flag, like athletes want to take it out onto the field of play. They'll break Rule 50.2. So how can you help us? So I had conversations with the Matildas and a few of the other teams, the hockey girls, the basketball, the Boomers and Opals, and it was really good to have the conversation with the athletes, knowing that I'm coming from a position of strength, knowing that the AOC fully support cultural inclusion. They fully supported the flags. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait flags were up in the village proudly. So to have the sort of chat around rules was difficult, but it was easy knowing how you've got the full support of the AOC. They're not sort of throwing the rule book down or saying no and blocking it. They're just saying, look, let's work together. And and then there was one shirt that was designed that had the Aboriginal artwork on it, and that became the travel shirt for athletes. So I watched teams come into the village and wear this Aboriginal artwork, which blew me away. And the skateboarders were in the village for the first time, and they came up to our office and said, "Hey, Kyle, we don't have a uniform. Could we wear the Indigenous shirt?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a yes from me." But if and then so you just had moments like that where you're just going, "Wow, this is so special." And when I was part of the team briefings, Kenny Wallace, who was deputy chef, he grabbed me and said, "Kyle, you're not going to just do the housekeeping. I want you to do the final words to all the athletes." And I'm like, "What do I say?" And he goes, "Well, mate, we've got to inspire them. Like, just what do you come up with your own words." So to stand there and say to different teams, congratulations, you're wearing green and gold, you got the Olympic rings. But I said also you're part of a team that's got a number of firsts. I said the oath has been changed for the first time. The constitution's been changed. There's artwork, there's cultural inclusion for the first time. I said you're not just representing green and gold. You're representing, Australia's oldest living culture, and that culture's your culture. So I sort of, those words just rolled out, but they came from my heart, and athletes really took it on. Like I got a lot of feedback from athletes and coaches saying thanks for those words, but it was really like, let's go out there and be the athletes that we know you are. Go and perform the best you can. Don't think about COVID. Let us worry about COVID. You go out and be the athletes that we know you've trained hard to be. And so that they're just a quick snapshot of highlights from me. But the photos you can see there.
Photos are awesome, Kyle, and it's obvious. I mean, you've obviously had the chance as a proud Indigenous man to use that cultural connection, and it was obvious from what we saw on the telecast that was there, that there was a team connection, that everyone was supporting everyone and enabling that. Apart from that cultural side of things, what else did the athletes lean on you for as the athlete liaison officer? If someone's a bit down after a performance, do they knock on your door and want to talk all night, or how does it work? Do you get any sleep? What happens?
It's a good question, because when we were appointed and we had some of the sessions leading in, we part of our approach was to be, I think they called it not a soft touch, but I think a light touch. So you weren't really going up and being in athletes' faces, but you were there on the peripherals. And that was hard, because as a ex-athlete, you can read when someone's not going well or they need a chat. So I think it was probably, that was one of the skills they wanted to select us on, is how you can read the situation. But we ended up swapping clothes for athletes when they needed clothes swaps, and the volleyball girls said, "Hey, how come we don't get track and field shorts?" And I said, "No, just leave it to me. I'll go to the store and I'll get you the shorts." So we just had a sort of, nothing's impossible attitude. Like, if you've got something that you need, let us get it. And then I did some mentoring sessions in front of the office with athletes, and athletes could drop by. And I think our friendly approach and our friendly attitude just made us approachable. And I was cleaning the barista machine. I was doing the boomers washing. There was about 37 bags of washing. And I was pushing trolleys around to the basement laundry. And I'm saying to the laundry, like, you cannot lose any of this washing. Like, this is the boomers washing. And then, you're just running around doing different jobs. I was unpacking boxes. I was talking to the chef de mission. I was doing some mentoring. I was cleaning the coffee machine, stocking up the fridges, cleaning bins. So if you're a bit too precious and you say, oh, no, I don't want to do that, but you just had to roll your sleeves up and do it. And then when it got to second week, I said to my team, I said, okay, hang on, track and field started. If I disappear, please understand. And I took off and I got to see the 100 meters and then the hurdles started and walking into the warm-up track, I don't know, I felt like I was actually back home again. I was like, oh my God, I haven't been in this space for so many years, and I just could smell the rubber. I could see the elite movements, the techniques, the attitudes, and I'm like, and I actually rang Roy. I said, Roy, I'm at the warm-up track. When do I start my warm-up? And he just laughed.
Did you hop over a couple of hurdles just for old time's sake?
I set a few hurdles up, and I helped Nick Hoff, who was our Australian rep in the hurdles, and he was our first hurdler in the Olympics since me. So I helped him through his warm up, caught the bus with him, did all the routine, and again it was sort of strange for them. Like, geez, if I could run, I would know what to do, how to get out there for round one. But yeah, I was a 50-year-old body going, yeah, okay, this was the past. This is, but yeah,
what's from Tokyo? What's the favourite memory that you take away and you always think of now that you're back at home and back working and looking after the kids and coaching and all that stuff? What's the thing you remember most?
I think just being around the athletes and just seeing people, realise their dreams, their all that training that people had to do to get there, and athletes had to do, and the perseverance with COVID. Like, I think it was just nice to be one of the supports to see people's dreams actually come to life. And if you've seen someone in green and gold, it might be their first time, Olympic green and gold. So, and then you might see someone that's been to 4 Olympics, and you go, oh my God, like, how have they done 4 Olympics? So, and then some medals came past our office, and I think they're in some of the pictures. And one of the swimming managers said, oh yeah, this is just some of the girls' medals. They just they picked them up, and she pulled them out of her bum bag. And I was like, what the? You got medals in your bum bag? Like, what the hell? And then she's like, yeah, just a few gold and a few bronze. I'm like, oh, I said, can I please touch one? I said, I don't know if it's a bit sacred, but it's like, yeah, just grab it. And so it's probably hard to have one highlight, but I think just seeing the athletes and seeing people's dreams come true. Some got the highest honor of a medal, but some just did their best and participated, and I can relate to that. You just got to get out there and have a go. And there's so many highlights. I didn't get to go.
Any particular challenge that you had to kind of tackle? I mean, COVID obviously is the big one, and you would have had lots of protocols you had to jump in there. Was that the main one, or was there other things that you didn't realise happened from when you were an athlete that kind of the staffers needed to cope with? Anything like that came up?
Yeah, I think
Was COVID the big one?
COVID seemed to be something that it was there. Everyone knew about it, but you didn't let it dominate the day. You kept your distance. You wore your mask. You kept your hands clean. I think just maybe some of the protocols you had to sort of step through, but it all went really smooth. I mean, I think back in my athletic days, you got to stay calm under pressure. And then it was interesting to be in a role where I didn't have to go and execute and perform, but as a staff member and a team member, you still had to be calm. And so I think I found that all that stuff just came back naturally. But I might be chatting to the IT guy, I might be chatting to someone in athlete services, or I might be chatting to someone in nutrition. And, hang on, I need some more milk. Then run out of milk at the baristas. I need more milk. But you do it in a nice way and you stay calm. But Yeah, I don't know. You just it's like you're performing, but you're not the athlete. Your performance will help an athlete's performance. So it was a different hat to wear, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. Yeah, no, and I had to mentor a few athletes, and there was one girl in track and field that Angeline Blackburn. She was in the relay, but she didn't quite get the spot to run. So I mentored her in the lead up, and I just pulled out all my best tools in my head and thought, okay, you got to stay calm, and I got her sleeping better, and we started to talk about, well, what can you do here as a relay member, and okay, you might not get out on the track to execute and run, but why don't you go to the track and do a session and get some memories from this games? Like, don't let the next 5 days be something that you just never want to look back on. Like, create some good memories. So, and that athlete, Angeline, she did that, and I felt like I played a bit of part of just maybe getting her head to sort of start to think in the right way, because I could see, 3 years beyond Tokyo, that she might go, oh, I hated that, and then she, at the end of the game, she said, Kyle, I've had the best week. It's been so good. I've loved it. I'm an Olympian. I've got green and gold on us, and I'm hungry to go and get back home and start to train again. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
And Kyle, I know you're a bit of a fashion man. What was your favourite uniform item that you got to wear at the games?
I love the bright yellow socks. So I got to wear bright yellow socks. There was a lot of yellow, and I wore that stuff. What else did I? The socks were my favourite, I think. And
I see a photo of you there in the jack sit.
Yes,
yeah. Jack sit is.
Yeah,
Jack,
there it is there. Yeah,
there it is there. Kyle and I shared a physio that kept our bodies together for various years, who's now dearly departed. But that action there pretty much stretches your whole body if you can get yourself into that position. Not many people can get themselves into that position, Kyle, but you always could. You were always...
That became our stretching little area, and that's Johnny Millman from the tennis. And he said, "Oh, I've got some tight hips," and I went, "Mate, I don't want to intrude, but can I just give you probably one of the best stretches in the world?" And he goes, "Okay, well, what have you got?" And I jumped down, and he goes, "Holy geez, you can still get..." I said, "Look, I haven't stretched for 10 years, so I'm a bit tight." And he goes, "Oh my God, I can't get in that position." And then all my colleagues were like, "Kyle, you're going to have to run some stretch sessions." And when we got to quarantine in the 2 weeks, I ended up doing a stretch session, and athletes were zooming in. But
awesome.
Yeah, it all came back to me, like, and it was so hot. So it was 30 plus degrees. So my body just loosened up, and I'm probably a bit stiffer now that I'm back home.
For those of you that don't know, Kyle was probably the first person that used a wheelie bin for an ice bath and used a golf ball for a spiky ball.
That's right.
And was very focused on his body. Getting over the 3'6" hurdles is not easy. And it was always very focused. And we used to head to 6 a.m. stretch class with Jack, the physio.
I miss those.
You missed that. Yeah, I missed them too. Although I don't think the AFL footballers we went along with missed them much, because it was a bit hard for them.
It was.
Good fun. Now, moving along to reconciliation action plans, Kyle. We were lucky enough to have you on our organising or a working group. Nova led that for us a couple of years ago now. We've kind of got all caught up with COVID and we finally got the chance to launch our wrap today. But you've worked on a few reconciliation action plans. What does it mean to you as an Aboriginal man to have sports, have organisations, and you've worked in companies as well, go through the process and produce a wrap for the organisation?
Oh, it means a tremendous amount. Like, I think, it's been a real honour to sit on working groups and wrap committees, and it's great to pass on some advice. I think, it's always good to see a company make a commitment. I think now that I've sat on Athletics Australia and Vicsport, AOC's RAP. Like it's so great to see the sports industry go, let's do something around reconciliation. And I think when you see a company start to pick up some confidence and feel, okay, we can do something here, because I think there's a real hesitation around, well, hang on, we don't want to say the wrong thing, and we don't want to be tokenistic, or we don't want to tick a box. And when they can get the right committee members to actually, walk along with you and make you feel that you can pick it up and run with it and get the confidence. I think that's the part I enjoy, is just having the conversation. I don't think you go in as an expert. I don't feel like I'm an expert, but I feel like I can, help a company make the first steps and get the confidence. And RAPs are broken up into three great pillars, where you've got, a respect pillar, a relationships, and an opportunities. And, respect is around building that cultural understanding, the cultural knowledge, and even getting some cultural knowledge on your location of where you operate. If you operate nationally, then you got a big lens to look through. But so for Vicsport to pick it up and start to look at where you are, where your members are, where your stakeholders are, that's a good thing. And then the relationships are the other part that starts to happen, and you start to go, how can we start to build more relationships? How can they be meaningful? How can we, make them ongoing? And then opportunities around, normally around employment. So they're things that can, really set a company up if they start to get young or old Indigenous people working within the organisations. Years ago, maybe RAPs were done to tick a box, and they maybe were done and put on the shelf, but that's not the case. It's been 20 years since the reconciliation journey's been happening in Australia, and I would have still been an athlete and still been jumping over hurdles when the reconciliation movement happened. But if everyone can remember that big walk across the bridge, Sydney Harbour Bridge, and there wasn't just Indigenous people, there was hundreds and thousands of Australians saying, look, let's march across, let's make a change, let's do something to acknowledge that past, but let's change the future. And that's really what RAPs are. It's about, making sure we understand the past, but then how do we make our companies, our communities more inclusive, more culturally safe. I'm probably saying that to the AOC every meeting, like keep showing the leadership that you're doing, it's working, but make sure you keep being culturally safe. And that's culturally safe for the current athletes, but then, for the 10-year-old that's like, hey, Mama, I watched Tokyo, I want to be an Olympian. And if they see that artwork, an Indigenous kid will go, Mum, I'm going to be a Paddy Mills, and that.
I'm going to be a Kyle Vander-Kuyp.
Yeah, maybe, hopefully. And that's Paddy Mills, said to me in the village, Kyle, we just had a nightmare travel from Texas, from Texas, and he said, but that's 16 hours of travel. He said, I would do that 10 times again to walk into a village like this. And he was looking at the artwork, and he had the Torres Strait artwork headband on. And I said, well, Paddy, there's been an Indigenous advisory committee. We've been working on this, and these have been conversations that have brought all this to light. So that was a highlight for him to say, Kyle, I've never been in a village like this ever.
And he felt welcome and.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the culture that he'd been working on with the Boomers, it just matched all that work and effort that he'd been doing. He had all his teammates on board. it wasn't Paddy saying, I want the Aboriginal flag up on our floor. It was all the players.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, I just seen young Australians over there that were like, hey, what are we doing about recognising Indigenous cultures? What are we doing? And I was like, wow, this Australia is going to change soon. We're going to get these leaders just, finishing off their sporting careers, but they're going to go into be on boards and committees and CEOs and coaches. And I'm like, wow, we've got a big change happening soon.
Yeah, look, I really enjoyed the process, Kyle. I mean, we had Nova leading it, which was absolutely fantastic. We had yourself on the committee. We had our marketing manager of the time from Vicsport, Jasmine Rishwal. Jason Helwig from Swimming Victoria joined us. We had Alice Pepper, Jay Mara McDonald, Luke Isaacs and Peter Montagna. And we were led fantastically by Karen Millwood, who took us through the process that's kind of outlined by Reconciliation Australia and to design our Innovate RAP, Reconciliation Action Plan. And now my challenge as CEO is to roll that out amongst Vicsport and also to encourage other sports, particularly at state level, if they don't have a RAP at national level or, they want their own, to go through the process. It was fantastic to learn more about Indigenous culture. It was fantastic. I was the one asking the dumb questions in the process, Kyle, but you put up with me all through the different meetings.
No.
But I would encourage you, our plan is up on our website, and I'll send it out to all our members tomorrow. But it is a fantastic process to go through as a team, as a business, and we're now in the process of rolling out some of the actions that Kyle talked about in the different processes. And it really, I would recommend it to everyone and anyone, and we can obviously guide you as well on that. You go through your own process, but I can also tell people about that process. And it was great to have Kyle on that organising committee that had done other RAPs with other organisations, could bring some insights for what other sports have talked about. Bit different from a Vicsport point of view because we're representing lots of sports, but for us going through the process and kind of leading by example and making sure that we follow that process through and roll that out between kind of now and June 2023 will be really exciting. So there'll be lots of good things that we'll have come out of that, and we'll keep involving our committee on that. Before we wind up, Kyle, I'm just going to, get you to help me officially launch the RAP, and maybe encourage everyone to get onto the process and to dive in and look at our RAP when I send it out to people, and consider going through the fantastic process and the learnings that you get through that process.
Yeah, no, Lisa, thank you for having showing the leadership and having that open heart to take this on. And I think you just said you asked the questions, and you might have thought they were the hard ones to ask, but I think that openness and that willingness is the key, and that openness to learn. So yeah, congratulations. As you said, I recommend anyone to start to ask the question, could we take the steps, and could we start the learning process? It might even be getting on to Lisa to say, we'd like to do some cultural awareness, and that might sort of take you into the first steps. But well done, Lisa. Well done, Vicsport. Congratulations on this RAP. It's great to be part of the launch, and great to see it kicked off.
Kick off finally. We got there eventually, Kyle. We kind of got a little bit hamstrung by COVID and various other things, but we're there, and thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on your career. Congratulations particularly on the athlete liaison role. Hopefully they'll pick you up for Paris and LA, and you'll be a long-term Olympic servant helping the future athletes. It was good to see you and Sean Rowe up there. Anne-Marie Harrison's on the call. She'd be very proud that a couple of VIS athletes were taking up the work and supporting all the athletes in Tokyo. And thank you for your help with our RAP and for helping me launch it today. And I'll put the hard word on you to keep me honest in making sure we roll that out properly and with the help of our staff and board. So we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us, Kyle. And
thank you, Lisa.
Say hello to your little athletes.
I will. No, thanks for having me. Thanks for listening, and it's been an honour.